SCI-HUB Venture, a science adventure. Learn science with Nersa Atari, Diane E. Vadilano, Aurelien Francisco, E.J. Valdono, and Sherry Peliman. Are you ready? This is the SCI-HUB Venture.
Good afternoon, grade 5 students! How are you today? I hope that you are doing good and healthy every day. Today, I am your teacher, Teacher Nersa I. Atari, but you can call me Teacher Nurse. Before we will start, here are the class reminders for you. Number 1. Listen carefully. Number 2. Avoid making noises. Number 3. Participate in our class activities. And here are our objectives for today.
These are the objectives. First one is identify what is genetically modified organisms. Second, distinguish which fruits is genetically modified organisms and which fruits are not. Third is describe the advantage and disadvantage of genetically modified organisms.
Yesterday, we have discussed about genetics. Who can tell me what is genetics? Thank you. Now who can give me an example of genetics? Very good, class. Now, I have here a video with me. Let us watch the video.
Genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, have had their DNA artificially modified by humans, using modern genetic manipulation techniques. By changing the DNA, so changing the genome of an organism, means we can change its characteristics. Humans have been artificially altering the genomes of plants and animals for thousands of years by selective breeding. Today, with advances in genetic engineering techniques, means we can speed this process up by incorporating specific new genes from one species into a completely unrelated species. Crops, farm animals, and soil bacteria are three of the most common uses of genetic engineering to make GMOs. The cotton plant that grows the cotton for your t-shirt might have been genetically modified to be pest resistant, or the bacteria modified to produce life-saving medicines, as well as the better known GM crops that we eat. And then there's some wacky organisms like spider goats and glow-in-the-dark mice. Firstly, let's find out how genetic modification happens. The short answer is there are a couple of different ways. There are several techniques that can be used to modify a genome, but the main one relies on bacteria. Bacteria are single-celled organisms that don't have a nucleus like our cells, but instead have one main circle of DNA called the circular chromosome and lots of tiny circles of DNA called plasmids. In GMOs, it's all about the plasmids. They are really useful tiny bits of DNA that can contain one or several genes. The cool thing about plasmids is that they can be passed between bacteria as easily as shaking hands. So plasmids are a super important part of how genetic modification happens. Let's go through the steps using the human insulin gene as an example. First, we cut the gene for human insulin from a human cell using an enzyme. We then use the same enzyme to cut the circular bacterial plasmid open and stick the insulin gene and the plasmid together. Then we put the modified plasmid back into a bacterial cell, and we wait. But not for too long, as bacteria cells divide roughly once every 30 minutes. And a little while later, we have millions of bacteria producing the human insulin protein and excreting it. The human insulin is filtered out and purified and can then be used by people with diabetes. How simple is that for saving lives? Spider goats are also a great example of a genetically modified organism. They aren't as scary as they sound. They're goats that have had the spider silk gene inserted into their DNA, so when female goats lactate, produce breast milk, the milk contains spider silk. The spider silk is pretty incredible. It's as strong as steel, but so light that a strand long enough to circle the Earth would weigh less than 500 grams. So there are thousands of uses for such a unique material. Scientists have used genetic modification to introduce genes that glow under UV light, such as from jellyfish into other animals for medical research. This may seem totally useless, but actually, being able to see certain cells in the dark has led to a lot of scientific discoveries. Glow-in-the-dark mice and fish have helped scientists make new breakthrough research into treating cancer, Parkinson's and spinal cord injuries. And glow-in-the-dark cats have been used for HIV research. Crops can also be genetically modified to make them more pest resistant, to have nutritional benefit like additional vitamin A. To learn about GM crops, watch this video. So there we have genetically modified organisms that have had their DNA modified for some different uses.
Did you understand the video clip, class? Very good. Now, I have a short story for you. Please listen carefully. Yesterday, Rose and Anna went to the market to buy some fruits, but they are confused on which stall to go and buy fruits because there are two stalls in the market, the stall A and the stall B. The stall A, the fruits there cost less, but the fruits there are mostly rotten, while in the stall B, the fruits there is so expensive, but the fruits there look so fresh. Did you understand the short story, class? Very good. Now, I have a question. Why do you think that the stall B has fresher look fruits than the stall A? If that's so, what do you like to find out?
This is our problem. What causes the fruit to spoil while the others are still fresh? Prediction. Maybe it has injected chemicals causes the fruit to make it look fresh. Second, maybe the other fruits has no chemical injected that causes fruit to spoil.
So class, I have here 4 different kinds of fruits, and since the class is divided into 4 groups, each group will be given 2 pictures of a particular fruit, and what you are going to do is to write down your observations about that fruit. And you will choose a representative to present your works afterwards. I will be giving you 10 minutes to do the activity. So students, possible answers will be shown using a PowerPoint presentation.
The other apples looks fresh while the other apples looks rotten. Some strawberries looks reddish and healthy to eat, while the other one looks brown and already expired. The other mango is clean, while the others looks dark. The other orange is good and pleasant in the eye, good to eat, while the other one is not.
Great job! You all did a good work. Now, let's give ourselves a round of applause. After doing the observation, what was again did I ask you to observe? Very good. What did you observe about the fruits that I've showed you? Very good. What do you think is the reason why some fruits are still looks fresh? Yes, it's because of the GMO. So now, we will discuss about the GMO. So what does GMO stands for? Very good. It is defined as what? So, from what kind of DNA does GMO made of? Very good. In other words, it is produced by genetic engineering. They are genetically modified organisms that have their DNA artificially. Are modified by who? Very good. By using modern genetic manipulation, we can change the characteristic of organism by changing the what? Very good. What do you think are the common use by the GMO? Very good. For instance, the apple that we eat might have been genetically modified by the GMO to make it a pest-free or pest resistance. With the help of genetic engineering, we can also create another organism by attaching the other organism gene and the other organism gene to create a new characteristic of a organism. Let's look on the screen. So what do you see on the screen? Very good. So on the screen is the pros and cons of the GMO.
Now let's go back to the stories that I have told you earlier. So accordingly, Anne and Rose are confused which stalls of apples are they going to buy. If you are Anne and Rose, which stalls of apples will you going to buy? Well, let's see. Accordingly, GMO stands for... Very good. GMO stands for genetically modified organisms. Now who can tell to the class what are the problems that we raised earlier? Very good. So what do you think is the answer on that? Very good. Now who can tell to the class what are some advantages of GMO? Very good. Less spoilage. We use GMO so that fruits will not get rotten or spoiled. Another one, please. Very good. Now, who can tell to the class what are some disadvantages of GMO? Very good. It is harmful. GMOs are mixed with chemicals, and that's what makes it harmful. Another one, please. Very good. So now, those are the pros and cons of GMO. Did you understand? Is there any questions? None so far. Very good. So now let's go back to the situation I talked about earlier. This is my final questions. So now, which stall will you go buy some apples? Okay, nice answer. Very good. I think you understand our lesson today. And let's proceed to our next activity.
I will show you the evaluation posted in our PPT. With directions, do a short reflective journal about the genetic modified organism. So you put in there what you learned about the GMOs or the genetic modified organisms. I have a questions. So which among the 10 points of view is an advantage and disadvantage of genetic modified organisms? So you will do is identify if it is an advantage or disadvantage of genetic modified organisms. Write your answers before the number. Number 1, it increases nutritional value or enhanced flavor. Number 2, more people will have access to quality food. Number 3, they threaten crop diversity. Number 4, it gives food desirable traits. Number 5, it makes food more nutritious. Number 6, faster growing of foods and gain more profit. Number 7, they offer more useful knowledge for genetics. Number 8, they would make plants that leave unwanted residual effects to remain in the soil for a long time. Number 9, they can pose a threat to the insects that important for ecosystem. Number 10, they can produce more weeds and can threaten the lives of other animals.
Hello kids! These are the things that you need to remember. GMO stands for Genetically Modified Organisms. Organisms are plants, animals, bacteria, or viruses, and genetically modified organisms are organisms that have their DNA changed using science. Scientists can take the traits of one organism and inject it to another organism's DNA to change it. In today's world, genetically modified organisms come beneficial to farmers, mostly in agriculture, for crops, and other uses. GMA are also used to produce many medicines and vaccines that help treat or prevent diseases. These are the pros and cons.